Fun Facts presents the 1966 through 67 Oldsmobile Toronado. Is this a classic muscle car? I don't think that it is, but it certainly has a huge motor for the time of the era. It was introduced back in 1966. It had a production run of 19 through 1970. The 66 and the 67 have the same body style. It's a 4,000-pound car, which probably keeps it from ever being considered a fast car. But it definitely has a huge motor. So let's talk about the 66-67 Oldsmobile Toronado. I hope you liked the video. If you're excited, I'm excited. So let's get started now. So, is the 66 Oldsmobile Toronado a muscle car? Oldsmobile has made its name in the muscle car segment with the launch of the 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado. It was said to be the most innovative car of the 60s. The engine was a 425 cubic inch V8. It had a 4-barrel Rochester quadrajet carburetor. It had 385 horsepower at 4,800 RPM, 475 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM, and the drivetrain was a 3-speed automatic front-wheel drive. General Motors struggled to define Oldsmobile's place in its lineup in the late 1990s before it killed the division. But in 1965, it knew exactly what Oldsmobile stood for. Engineering, says former Olds designer Stan Willen. Olds made a point of accentuating its engineering leadership. If you were looking for something nicer, sportier than a Chevy, you would buy a Pontiac. If you were too embarrassed to buy a Cadillac, you could buy a Buick. It was a doctor's car. On October 14, 1965, in an effort to maintain its crown as GM's engineering division, Oldsmobile launched the all-new Toronado, its most radical car in a 68-year history of innovation. A month later, Motor Trend named the big front drive personal luxury coupe its 1966 car of the year. By 1965, Old's last innovation, the 215 horsepower, 215 cubic inch turbocharged aluminum block V8 had been replaced. Olds just sold 9,607. In 1962 and 63, the F-85 based Jetfires powered by that engine before dropping the car for the 1964 Cutlass 442. With its 330 cubic inch naturally aspirated iron block V8. While the 442 was a hit with the enthusiast, it rode in the shadow of Pontiac's strapping GTO. Enter the Toronado, weighing 4,800 pounds, 211 inches long, and riding on a 119-inch wheelbase. And the first front-drive production car made in America since 1937, Cord 810 and 812. It stood 52 inches tall, same as the Corvette, and 2.7 inches lower than the 88. Its long hood and short, true fastback deck proportions were exaggerated, but the long dash to axle ratio betrayed what lie underneath. A longitudinal 425-inch, 90-degree V8 engine. Today, most front-drive cars have transverse-mounted engines. Engineer Frank Ball says Olds tried transverse and backward layouts, the latter with the transmission off the passenger side. We looked at other front-drive cars, he says, the Citroen, and especially at that time. Ultimately, the Tornado's engine remained north-south with the tranny off the driver's side, but its engineering innovation didn't end with the front wheels. A 3-speed hydromatic automatic put the torque converter conventionally behind the engine, but engineers turned the gearbox containing the planetary gear sets and clutch units 180 degrees so that its output end pointed forward. A specifically designed chain link drive transmitted power from the torque converter to the gearbox in a 1.1 ratio. The chain link proved noisy, Ball says. So engineers designed sprockets with special thin sections and a chain with uniform teeth, a dual snorkel air cleaner, an extra large intake manifold, twin exhaust pipes. The Toronado had a gross output of 385 horsepower, at least 10 horses higher than any other Olds 425 engine, and 475 foot-pounds of torque, 5 up on the Starfire's 425 V8. The addition of a channel to the oil pan, the only major change to the 425, cleared space for the drive shaft. The front half of the oil pan had been a dry sump, Ball says. We used a baffle that caught the oil as it came off the crankshaft and tumbled it back from the pan. Now, you're thinking 2 words: torque steer. The shocker is that the car has none, at least not the example that GM still owns. The Lucerne Ball base level car on these pages is the first production Toronado built. A pilot car, the engine seems a bit out of tune, although the odometer shows only 30,000 miles. Its 475-foot rating is a pie-in-the-sky SAE gross figure anyway, and play in the steering wheel befitting a big 1960s car. Even one with sporting pretensions does its part to mask torque steer. Oldsmobile was aware of this kind of problem though. Torque steer reared its ugly head when engineer Jack Watson moved to address the criticism from the automotive press of the chain link drive. He brainstormed over the Olds 442 exhibition drag car, which was powered by 2 blown nitro-fueled 425 engines, one in the back, one in the front. Watson called the car the Hearst Harry Olds, the dumbest project I ever did. It really didn't work, but it got a lot of riders off the chain. He recalled the Helen Jones early and the James R. Wilkinshaw's optimistically titled book, Setting the Pace, Oldsmobile's First 100 Years, and Olds learned about torque steer. Harry went where Harry wanted to go. The Toronado has a front subframe, a ladder frame that ends in the middle of the car, where a unibody takes over. The front suspension has torsion bars, and, well, all other Olds models use 4-wheel coil springs. The Toro has leaf springs in the back to lower the silhouette. Inside the podium instrument panel that pops out of the shadow dashboard houses a vertically revolving barrel-shaped speedometer. There are no vent windows, just a flow-through ventilation with intake at the front cowl and air exhaust at the rear cowl. Under the backlight with a cutting-edge car for early adopters atop its lineup. Using first three letters of the Oldsmobile name was not a problem. Look to Olds for the new began its 1966 advertising tagline. And then there's the styling. As groundbreaking as the front drive, Frank Lloyd Wright designed modern buildings that fit in with surroundings. Driving the 1966 Toronado is like driving in a postmodern Wright design. The sheet metal is clean, especially with those unusual low spec and distinctive. It's an expressive automobile exuding the best American sophistication from the space-age Cold War. Vacuum-operated pop-up headlamps and horizontal bar grille recall the coffin nose Cord 810 and 812. The grille and the wheels are only Cord cues, says David North, who, as a designer in his early 20s, also drew the Red Flame car that GM chose for the Tornado's design theme. I always had pictures of the Cord around me, says North. A subtle nod to the coffin nose, the Toro's grille curves in toward the engine compartment as its outer edges. There was no mistaking that the car coming down the road says John O. Grettenberger, an Olds field representative at the time and latter general manager of the Cadillac division. The meat cleaver front fenders extended past the hood as long as Nebraska. The round flared well openings were revolutionary in their day, and the belt-line surface tension helped pioneer the organic fuselage body style that marked some of GM's styling throughout the divisions in the late 60s and early 70s. Well, if you found yourself this far into the video, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I've been reading from an article from motortrend.com. I'll leave a link below the description of the video. So if you like our video, please give us a thumbs up because it really does help our channel. And if you like our channel, please subscribe because we'll be doing all the muscle cars, the supercars, the hybrid cars, sports cars. We'll be doing autoramas. We'll be doing custom cars and hot rods, a little bit of everything for everybody. So thank you again. Take good care. Hope to see you when we upload our next video. And always, always, always take good care.